we're joined this hour by another X Factor star. She placed second in the first series of The Voice in Finland in 2012, and then we fell in love with her here in the UK in 2016 when she was the runner-up in the 13th series of the X Factor UK. Now, Saara Aalto is representing Finland in the Eurovision Song Contest, which takes place in Lisbon, Portugal this year. It means that we can vote for her as well.
Yay!
You need to get these UK votes, don't you, Saara? Saara's in the studio. Saara, thank you so much for joining us today. Before we speak to you about what's going on with you, obviously you were on the X Factor with this panel. What have you made of this suggestion that Nicole, Sharon and Louis might all leave? Because who mentored you again?
Sharon was my mentor.
So Sharon was your mentor.
Well, I absolutely love Nicole, so I think it's really bad to get rid of her. And I think maybe the show should just have a break, like maybe 1 or 2 years just to not do it, you know, give it a rest and then come back with the same judges, because I think everybody loves the judges. It's like they've been there for so many years. I don't think changing the judges will actually help. I think it's just that it's too often.
What if you go for a break, Saara, and then you know, you lose your audience entirely, and then there's not the opportunity of even going on the show to come back to?
I don't know. I feel like if it had a break and then coming back would be a big thing, and everybody would want to watch it and apply, and it would be like a big thing again.
Who would be your dream panel if you could choose any 4 people in the whole world?
Really? Oh, okay. Well, Nicole, Simon, and Adam Lambert, and Beyonce.
Well, you two agree on Beyonce, that is for sure.
Okay.
But Saara, your journey from the X Factor has obviously been such an intense one, hasn't it? Because I guess what a lot of people don't understand with you is that obviously you're a huge star here and you were signed on the back of the X Factor and obviously did incredible music that I loved. But in your homeland of Finland, you are Beyonce. As a result of the X Factor, you were then signed to be a judge on the show over there, is that right? And so you had all of this work going on. And obviously this is a show where we talk a lot about sort of in-depth emotions and how people cope with them. And for you, it was really difficult, wasn't it? And I think you're now sort of prepared to open up a little bit about some of that stuff that you went through, going through such a roller coaster of finding international fame.
Yeah, it has been a very long and tough journey for me. I came second on Voice of Finland in 2012, and it really exploded. Like, my career went so big in Finland, and I had like 300 gigs a year. And I talked with labels, and I said, I really want to have an international career. And they were like, Saara, if you are in Finland, you have to just sing in Finnish. We can't help you with your international career. And I had like so much pressure, and my heart was just like wanting to go abroad, but I was kind of like left alone, and they didn't sign me because of my language decision.
So basically. They didn't sign you at all?
No, because I wanted to sing in English. And they said, well, then, Saara, you are on your own. And basically that kind of led into a situation where I felt very lonely, and I was still doing gigs. I was very big, but I did my songs in English all by myself, basically. And it took me quite many years to recover from that burnout that I had.
So you went on to record music in English, and you would pay for it yourself?
Yeah,
fund
exactly.
It yourself.
Yeah, so I had my own label, basically.
Wow, that's a huge decision to make when someone comes along and says, "I'll give you everything," and because it's not exactly what you wanted to do, you let that go.
Exactly, I have to follow my heart. I knew if I would just decide singing in Finnish, that would be the end of my dream. And like I said, I went to therapy. I did everything I could to feel mentally well. And luckily then I met my girlfriend, now my fiancé, and she actually then suggested that, like, have you ever considered X Factor UK? And I was like, what? Could I actually do that? And then I basically went online and I searched for X Factor UK, and I found out the last open audition would be on Friday, and this was Monday when I Googled it. And I was like, I'm going to buy the tickets and go.
Amazing.
And I came here basically, and it changed my life completely.
And thank goodness you did. But if you go back before that, though, you actually, I mean, there was a point, wasn't there, when you hit rock bottom, when you were struggling with that. You were isolated by your friends from school, and you talk about therapy, but it was actually, I mean, it was actually something that you went through for months, wasn't it, to get back on your feet?
I mean, I think it has been actually years. It's kind of like, because I was bullied at school, I was always the outsider. So I've been through it like my whole life basically, and then after this whole like burnout, I went to therapy, and I worked many years, and then 4 years after that I came to the UK. So basically, yeah.
So you'd already coped with it. And
what
it was
the therapy that you were? What were you seeking from the therapist? I mean, what were you going through? What kind of emotions were you trying to deal with at the time that you went to see somebody?
I think it was just really important for me to talk about what's happening in my life, and how I can keep my head like my mental health is very important.
And were you struggling to do that at the time? You're struggling
to
center yourself? Yeah,
I was really sad, and still I was doing gigs all the time. So basically I would go on stage crying, but still trying to sing, and be like, I want to be a singer, but it's just so hard to do it on my own. And then also I got a life coach from the UK, which was like a lifesaver, because she kind of helped me to believe that I could make it abroad and make it in the UK. And that was like 2014.
Did you have any family and friends around you when you were going through your toughest times to support you?
Not enough. Not enough. No. It's funny when you're sad. You just stay in bed and you don't want to see anybody. It's funny how you just
cut yourself off.
Yeah, and it's a bit like what I'm going through at the moment. Actually, to be honest, it's like my life is great. I'm just releasing my first single here in the UK, Monsters, which is also my Eurovision song. And
such a good song.
Oh, thank you. Just releasing my album soon, and gigging and doing all these things, and it's great, but you know how hard it is.
Well, I think something that's so important at the moment is people like you being prepared to open up about what you have gone through, because the big problem with the entertainment industry, is that everyone sees the good.
Smoke and mirrors.
Exactly, yes.
So they would see you, Saara, you know, like I did see you. I mean, I was at the judge's house where you performed in front of Sharon, and you see you as this absolutely confident, charismatic performer with all the confidence in the world, really. And obviously that was what you were known for on the X Factor. But actually, so often when you have a job like that, where you're having to put yourself out there to that degree, the psychological effects can be so big. And I think actually there's been a real sea change in society over the last few years, really. But especially you've seen Prince Harry open up about his battle with depression and the fact that he's had to seek a therapist. I mean, this is a member of the royal family. You know, that's something that in the past just would have been totally unheard of. And it feels like to me, and Saara, I don't know if you agree, but it's okay now to say, you know what, I was depressed, I was exhausted, I did have to take some time out.
Yeah, and I think we all go through those things. So that's why I think it's very important that we talk about them. And I think honesty is the only way we can change the world. Like, we have to be honest.
When I think about my own anxieties, I find that they're actually a part of me, and something that can creep up on me at any time, and that even if I feel I've overcome a certain period, I am aware that it could come back again.
Exactly.
Do you feel that the way that you were feeling back then is something that you have to constantly work at to keep on the right side of it? Or do you feel that part of your life is over and you've moved forward and completely got away from it?
No, it's exactly what you said. Like at the moment, my life is so busy that I am now getting back to that burnout feeling, and I'm like, no, Saara, you have to work hard not to go there. And actually, this is the first time ever in my life that I've actually cancelled some things. Like, I was supposed to fly to Israel this evening to perform at the Eurovision pre-party, and I was like, I can't.
Because you've been pushing yourself to the point, and this is something you've done through your whole career, isn't it, Saara? Because you're a perfectionist, you're someone who wants everything to be right, but the big problem is you haven't always necessarily looked after your mental health to this degree to say, look, I need to give myself a break,
Exactly.
you know, because either you're exhausted or you've dealt with periods of depression. So how have you felt that you can deal with it differently now? Is it partly just sometimes being honest and saying to your team, look, I can't mentally or physically do this?
Exactly. It's like when you are younger, like I was like in 2012, I was kind of like, I need to do everything. Because it's my passion. I love it. I want to do everything. But now I'm like, okay, I've experienced that. I know that it's not good for me. Even though this is my passion, I have to take care of my body and my mental health, because your body needs some rest. It's just a fact.
But like Dan said, thank goodness nowadays it is something we can all talk about, and people do recognise mental health as a huge physical part of your existence. You know, you can see a broken arm, but you can't necessarily see depression. But they both can have detrimental effects on you.
Exactly.
And like Dan was saying, now that you can speak about that to the people around you and make it clear how you want to look after your well-being, is it an easier decision for you to make when you have to cancel things? Is it easier for you to say, I'm not going to Israel and I know you'll all support me?
To be honest, it's very difficult to cancel things. It's not something that I would want to do.
No, of course not.
But it's like something that I have to do, because I want to go to Eurovision feeling good and energetic and strong. But if I would lose all my energies now, I wouldn't have nothing. I couldn't give anything to my audience. I have to take care of myself.
And Saara, tell me about some of the physical impact of dealing with that type of either exhaustion or depression things, because is it true that there have been times when you've even pushed yourself to the point of collapsing during rehearsals?
I mean, I'm just so excited and I'm so passionate about what I do. And my shows, like you've seen, are physically very hard. I'm dancing and doing crazy things, and it's just funny when you are working, you just don't feel the exhaustment, but then suddenly you are like, oh my goodness, I could just collapse and I can't get out of bed. It's funny because it's like this yin and yang. You try to kind of do what you love, but it's like, what is enough, what is too much? It's like,
do you feel under a lot of pressure in the industry that you're in? Because I do think that there are certain criteria and certain, you know, objectives that people want to get to with talent. I hate that word, but you know. And do you feel that there's a huge pressure on you to be available 24 hours a day, to be working yourself into oblivion, and are these people actually looking out for your well-being? Are they making sure you're eating properly? Are they making sure you're resting properly? Or are they just making sure they're making money from you?
Thank God my fiance is also my manager, so she's the one thing
cracking the whip.
It's like, Saara, no, she's like, Saara, you need to cancel things. Like, she is taking care of me so well, which is great, because if I hadn't her, I would probably be like a zombie at the moment. Like,
do you think that agents and labels and people that are looking after you should take responsibility as well and turn around and say, this is too much?
Yeah, but luckily they do, because I think I'm my worst enemy in a way. I'm the one who is always pushing myself.
Yeah. And
my label and my management, they're like, Saara, you work so hard. And I'm like, yeah, but I feel like because I come from a very small town from north of Finland, I've always had to work much harder to get out of there. So it's like in my blood also that I have to work to get where I want.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, now, how are you coping with it? Because obviously this is a very, very busy time for you. You've got Eurovision coming up. Yeah. So are you able to still seek therapy to deal with some of those areas, or what's your coping mechanisms?
Yeah, I do. I have a life coach in the UK, and I have a life coach in Finland. So basically I have like once a week I have a session with them and I just go through things, and I've found life coaching very helpful. It gives me a bit more than therapy, because therapy is like...
What is life coaching? Yeah. Sorry, I just want to... It sounds amazing, but I'd love to know exactly like, what that means.
When you go to therapy, you just talk, and there might not be any red thread, so to speak. It's like you just talk, but with life coach, you kind of take concrete steps. Like, okay, this is your feeling at the moment. why and what should you do to make it better, and then we just go through the steps together and make sure that I follow the steps in a good way. So it's very like concrete.
So they could essentially, do they have any influence, or do you dictate to them what they're writing on these lists? I mean, I'm imagining sort of, I would like to be here, here and here. This is where I am.
It comes from me directly. It's just the life coaches are just asking me questions and I am answering the questions. But it's funny when somebody asks you the right questions, it kind of, you just find the right answers from within. It's funny how it happens. But.
And are you looking after yourself at the moment? Do you feel okay?
It depends on the day, to be honest. I have good days when I'm like so energetic, and then I have days when I'm like, it's just too much. I can't. It's so much pressure. But I am doing my best. I'm canceling things. I'm trying to just concentrate on the most important things at the moment. And
because of course, I guess the big dates that you need to be on absolute fighting form for is next month with Eurovision, because you've got the semi-finals are on the 8th of May and the 10th of May. The final is on the 12th of May. Now, we're going to listen to your single in a little moment, actually, Monsters, which is what you're performing. Yeah. But tell me, I mean, number one, you've got to be ready for those dates, presumably. And number two, the British public can back you on this, can't we? Because we can vote for you, given that we can't vote for the UK entry, but we can vote for the Finnish entry.
Yeah, I'm so lucky that I'm in the first semi-final, because the UK can vote for me in the first semi-final. I'm like, oh, yes, it's like doing the X Factor again. Yeah. It's like getting British public behind me.
So you need maximum points from us, Saara.
That's exactly what I need. Please help me.
But aside from the fact that, you know, we love you here and people will get behind you, the song is brilliant and you have a phenomenal voice. So it wouldn't just be a vote, you know, because we like you. It would be a vote because you're truly talented and the song is great.
Yeah, I really, really hope you like the song and the performance. It's going to be great. Brian Friedman did the creative.
I love Brian.
I know.
He's the man behind all the X Factor performances.
Yes, exactly. Right? And that's why I called him and I was like, would you do Eurovision with me? And he was like, yes. So I'm very lucky. It's a great performance. So I hope you like it.
Well, Saara, I just think, look, obviously we're going to back you in Eurovision 100% because I think you're such a big talent and you're so incredible. But more importantly, just make sure you look after yourself as well.
No,
because it's not worth, none of it is worth driving yourself into the ground for it. You know, at the end of the day, you're a great performer. You're always going to do an incredible performance on the night. No one has any doubt of that, you know. But it's all of the stuff around it, isn't it? So just
the traveling and everything, it's so exhausting. I have one big date before the semi-finals. I have my own big gig in London on 25th of April, and I'm going to do like a whole show with like...
Amazing. Where are you doing that?
Under the bridge.
Oh,
and
excellent.
I have like dancers there. I know. It's my first time when I'm actually singing my new tracks from my album. So it's like an album launch party kind of, and Eurovision party as well.
All right, we're going. Dan, we've got to get an outfit.
We have to be there.
But it's like I'm doing like over 10 numbers with dancers and everything, so I have to rehearse for that as well. So it's like, why am I doing this to myself? I just love it, but it's quite a lot of work.
Well, look, promise me you'll look after yourself. We will back you all the way. Saara Aalto, so great for having you here. We're going to listen to your song in just a moment. Of course, if you have a dilemma, call us 0344 499 1000, 0344 499 1000. But to take us to the break, this is Saara Aalto's Monsters.
Woo!
I'm making friends with all the creatures that are hiding there under my bed. I ain't gonna hold on to these monsters anymore. Now I'm gonna let in all the light, tear down the walls. At my worst, I found my army strong. All the demons are gone. You can try